some of the things that I had done that weren't right, and they were still holding this against me. I just felt like, what was happening to me was wrong, and I was just trying to reach out to someone that could possibly help me in this matter.
Gene came into OJPC's office in August of 2007. It was a Friday afternoon in the heat of the summer. And he came in and told me that in the darkest moments of his life, he'd been addicted to drugs and had committed drug crimes that sent him to prison. And that he found his way forward in a positive direction on a cold October night in 1997. He found the courage to face his drug problem, to go home to his fiancée, to get into treatment, and was able to beat his addiction. He took control of his life, enrolled in a training program to become an electrician, was a star student in the training program. And what he needed help with was to have someone fight on his behalf to get a job with the city of Cincinnati. He had applied for the civil service exam. He applied to become an electrician for the city, and he passed the exam, and he had been offered a position, but they rescinded it once they realized that he had felony convictions in his past, and it was devastating to him. I was very moved by his story and knew immediately that we needed to spend whatever resources we could muster to get him employed by the city of Cincinnati. Well, we've been fighting on two fronts. One, we have been fighting in the courts to reverse the decision of the Civil Service Commission. Our argument is that the Civil Service Commission actually had the power to allow Gene to work as an electrician for the city, but it acted as if it didn't have any discretion, and it basically applied a blanket rule saying that if you are a felon, you cannot work for the city of Cincinnati. So we're fighting in the courts now to try and get that decision reversed. But we're also working to persuade the city to change its policy, to spell out that and make clear that people with felony convictions can work for the city, and to craft a set of guidelines that would help city officials determine when someone has been rehabilitated and when they no longer pose a risk that would warrant them not getting the job. So we're working on both the policy front and the legal front to try and get Gene a job, but also to change the policy.
I think there's a number of policies that have to be pursued. First of all, we need to limit the length of time that we look back in a person's record for old offenses. Currently, so many of the laws that we pass require background checks with no limit as to the number of years we look back. If we believe in successful intervention and reentry, we need to limit that number of time.
We know the cost of prison is exorbitant, almost the cost of a college education. So if we don't help them, if we don't provide programs, if we don't provide assistance while they're out in order to help them continue their rehabilitation, then very likely, with the recidivism rate as high as it is, they'll be back in the system, costing us a lot of money. So prevention is always better than the cure. I mean, that's why we have, flu shots. We want to keep people from getting the flu. We want to have prevention for people who tend to have broken the law in the past.
Doesn't it make sense from a cost perspective to focus on the programs that frankly have proven to be more effective by way of treatment and intervention? Why do we need the drug possession offenders to be in jail for these lengthy mandatory minimums that state and federal law prescribe? Wouldn't it be better to get them the treatment that they need, which I'm not sure they do get in a prison situation, get them the treatment they need so that they renounce dependence on drugs and can get back into society?
Our community benefits when we represent people like Gene. We want to get Gene employed. We want to set an example for other employers to hire people with felony records, because when studies show when former offenders are gainfully employed, they can be contributing members to the society, and recidivism rates drop. So we do this work because it's the right thing to do for our clients, but it's also the right thing to do for the community.
The fact of an old crime ought not automatically disqualify you for life from any kind of gainful employment. And when people who are qualified are employed, that's what our free market economy is all about. So there is a direct benefit to the community in the larger sense that way. But when these folks are employed, they are more likely to assume the responsibilities of citizenship, the responsibilities of providing for their loved ones, the ability to provide for their loved ones without resorting back to a life of crime. So I think there are lots of community benefits when we are able to bring these folks back into meaningful and gainful employment.
So the ex-offender has needs that he or she wants to pursue. They want to be able to take care of themselves. They want to have decent housing. And if they have children, as I said before, they want to help support their children. When they can't meet those needs, when they can't meet those obligations, then the pressure builds up on them. And then that's when we're more likely to see them commit crimes.
What we need to do is to educate the community that not every crime disbars someone from working in any field. Frankly, we need to do what I said earlier. We need to limit the number of years that we look back on people. I mean, I am not the same person I was when I was 22, and I dare say most of your viewers are not the same person that they were when they were 22. So if you believe in the possibility of human redemption, you need to do a better job of saying we're, again, going to be smart about this and not just have a wooden one-size-fits-all rule that will have the consequence, ultimately, of leading to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of folks not being able to find gainful employment and therefore becoming wards of the state, or worse, reverting to a life of crime.
What's really important is for us not to lose sight of is that all of us have done things that maybe are bad or not our best moments in the worst times of our lives. And that doesn't make us bad people. And what we really need to all realize as a community is that people who have made mistakes need a way forward. If we are going to be safe in this community, we want people who have been in the criminal justice system to get work, to be able to feel connected to their community, to feel good about themselves. Because the alternative is that when you don't have a job and you feel bad about yourself and there's not economic opportunity for you, you go back to a life of crime. This is so critical to our community from a public safety standpoint, that we do everything that we can to make sure that folks who have paid their debt to society, served their time in prison for their crimes, and when they come home, they should be able to get on their feet and be productive, law-abiding members of this community. It's critical that this is something that we bring about.
The Ohio Justice and Policy Center is fighting on my behalf in this matter, that I be given a chance to work as a result of what I've been doing the last 10 to 12, 13 years of my life versus, what I had done prior to that. For me, for my family, and for those that share those same experiences that I have, if I could sum it all up in one word, it's just hope. When you try and explain to someone that's battling a drug addiction as to why they should choose to be clean versus continuing to use drugs, it's that hope. It's that hope that gives them the reason to try to walk, behind you, or that hope that gives them the reason to try to change their way of thinking and their way of life.